So it's like Star Wars, but kinda not. What's up guys, Cam here coming at you with another movie review. Today I'm doing Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm wrapping up Marvel month. Earlier this month I did Iron Man 3, The Avengers, and Thor the Dark World. I'll be putting the links for them in the description below. Be sure to check those out too. And Guardians of the Galaxy is a great movie, I think. Guardians of the Galaxy is directed by James Gunn and stars Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Vin Diesel, and Bradley Cooper. We have an all-star cast for this movie, and it really helps. It really shows in the acting of the movie, because these guys bring their A game, especially Chris Pratt and Bradley Cooper. They are hilarious in this movie. There's such great dialogue between all the characters that'll have you gripping your sides laughing. It is so well written and so humorous. It's probably some of the funniest dialogue in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. Especially Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon. He completely steals this movie. And not just with his voice acting, especially with the CGI. The CGI of this movie is just absolutely incredible. You can't tell where the CGI is half the time. Rocket Raccoon looks like a real raccoon. The ships look great. The space, the environments, everything around them looks amazing. And I honestly cannot tell where the green screen of this movie is, because I'm sure there is green screen, but you can't tell where the hell it is. It all looks so well incorporated into the movie. It looks seamless. But the CGI aside, what really makes this movie are the characters. Chris Pratt plays Star-Lord, a legendary outlaw who's part of this gang called the Ravagers. And he's like the Han Solo, Indiana Jones of this movie. He's a gunslinger, he's a wisecracker, he's a ladies' man. I was kind of worried about Dave Bautista in this movie, but for God's sake, he was great too. His character is completely, absolutely literal. Metaphors go right over his head. Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it. I love it. Vin Diesel as Groot is pretty good, honestly. I love the character of Groot. He can be cute and cuddly one moment, and then the next he's ripping people apart. Literally, just ripping people apart. And there's some great humor incorporated with his character, especially when he works in conjunction with Rocket Raccoon. The two of them have such great chemistry. Now, how does the story hold up? The story is pretty standard. You have this thing that everybody's after, and of course the good guys have to keep it from the bad guys and whatever. It's a standard story that we've seen a bunch of times. But it's executed fairly well, and what really makes the story work are the characters. But speaking of the characters, that brings me to one of the flaws that I have with this movie, because this movie isn't a flawless movie no matter how much I praise it. The villain of this movie is named Ronan, and you don't really care very much about him. Not that you're supposed to really care about the villain, I mean like really care about him, but he doesn't really have the impact that a good villain is supposed to have. He's just kind of there. And he does his evil things, and he's got the really deep voice like, I'm here to kill you, and I'm here to save my people, blah blah. And that's really all that there is to him. You don't really know much about him, he's just kind of there. And there is another flaw that I have with this movie. It's kind of fleeting, but it's there, it's in one scene, and it seems very out of place and very just thrown at you. There's a romance between two characters, and it doesn't really feel like it works. There's not really anything leading up to it. There's no signs of attraction or anything. It's just like, boom. Oh, suddenly I'm trying to ask you out, and it just doesn't really work. But moving on from that, the action of this movie is really, really well done. There are some hand-to-hand fight scenes that are filmed very, very well. Some dogfights in space that are also filmed very, very well. You can't tell where the CGI is. It looks like practical ships that are going around shooting each other and blowing each other away, and it all looks so good. It's very reminiscent of the ending space fight in Return of the Jedi. It looks kind of similar to that. And if you enjoyed that, you'll enjoy this space fight. With all that being said, I'm going to give Guardians of the Galaxy an 8 out of 10. Well guys, spoiler alert, I will be talking about my top 5 favorite scenes out of Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's go. Topping off the list with number 5, we have Star-Lord's arrival on Morag. Now Morag is this abandoned planet that has this orb that everybody's after on it. And Star-Lord gets there, and he's walking towards this temple, and as soon as he gets there, he puts his headphones on, clicks his Walkman, and suddenly Come and Get Your Love by Redbone is playing. And he's dancing, he's going around, and it's a lot of fun to watch. It really sets the tone for this movie. Especially with the soundtrack, because I have a lot of fun listening to this soundtrack. It's a lot of 70s and 80s classics, like Michael Jackson. And you wouldn't think that something like that would work in a space movie, but it does, because it sets it up with the beginning scene of this movie, and it really, really helps progress the plot. And once he gets there and he gets this orb, he's confronted by some minions of the villain Ronan, and the escape from that is a lot of fun to watch. There's some great gunslinging shown. It shows that Star-Lord is very, very intuitive, very clever when under pressure, and it sets the tone for his character too. It really shows us who this guy is. Number 4, the introduction to Ronan. Now, as I said before, there isn't really a whole lot to this villain, but I have to say his introduction is actually pretty well done. You see him come up out of this black liquid, and he has his armor put on him, and he's talking about the peace treaty between his people and the Xandarian people. And he's talking about how he doesn't want it, he hates it so much, and then he turns around and he has a human who's all shackled up and can't move, and he lifts up this giant hammer and smashes his head in. And that's probably the best moment of that villain, honestly. He starts off really, really cool, but then after that there isn't really a whole lot to him. Number 3, the introduction to Rocket Raccoon and Groot. Now, like I said, these two characters really steal the movie. They have great banter between each other. They have such great chemistry, and the dialogue that's present in this scene is so well written, and it's so funny. Gamora steals the orb from Star-Lord, and he's trying to get it back, and meanwhile Groot and Rocket Raccoon are trying to capture Star-Lord because he has a bounty put on him, and watching them all basically tumble over each other is really funny, and it's a lot of fun. Number 2, the entire climax of the movie. Now, the climax of this movie is basically the last, 45 minutes of the movie, and you have a big space battle that's going on, and then you have the big battle that's inside of Ronan's warship. And it's really cool. It's all very well done. You got some great hand-to-hand fighting, some great ship-to-ship fighting. Of course, great humor between all the characters, because the humor is present literally all throughout the movie. There is not one scene in this movie where you're not laughing. And when the ship finally crashes to the ground and Star-Lord grabs the Infinity Stone, that whole scene when they're trying to hold on to each other while the Infinity Stone is releasing all this energy, I thought that was very, very well done. Especially when it looks like that Star-Lord is almost kind of dying in a way and he sees his mother. I thought that was good. That was kind of a tearjerker. And finally, number 1, escaping from the prison. Now, this scene is so funny. There is such good banter between the characters. I need that guy's leg. I didn't really need the leg. I don't know why. There's so much about this scene that just works for me. With Rocket and Groot working together, Star-Lord and Gamora kicking ass, it's all done so well. The action is filmed so well. And of course, like all the other scenes, there is such good humor incorporated in there. We need to get that battery last. Well guys, I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I would definitely recommend it. Even if you're not a Marvel fan, I would definitely recommend checking out this movie. I hope you enjoyed. As always, I will see you in the next review.